Zevachim daf beis. Kol hazvachim shenizbuchu shaloi l'shmon ksherim el shaloi ol l'baylam l'shem chayv. All zvachim that were brought, that were nizbuchu shaloi l'shmon is kosher, but they don't provide a kapara. They don't satisfy the reason why the owner brought it. There's a lot of things. First of all, let's see. First of all, the Taisvis. I'm going to skip Rashi and go straight to Taisvis. Kol hazvachim shenizbuchu avoid the kamaisa nakat. The Mishnah picked hazvach shenizbuchu, which is that they were geshachten. He just picked the first one of the avodas. But it only meets all four of the avodas. As we've mentioned a number of times, there are four avodas that you do with the carbon. There's first shchita, you shech the animal. Kabbalah, you get the dam of the animal in a kli. Then halacha, you bring the dam to the mizbeach. And zrika, then you throw the dam on the mizbeach or wherever it gets thrown, different parts of the mizbeach. So when the Mishnah said kol hazvachim, any carbon that was shechted shaloi l'shmon, it doesn't mean bedavka shechted. It means any one of the avodas. When we'll get to menachas, which we'll get to before you know it, there are four equivalent avodas that you do with the flour of a mincha. But that starts with kmitza, when you separate a portion, and then that's where it kicks off. Now, that's what kol hazvachim shenizbuchu shaloi l'shmon. What is shaloi l'shmon? So there's a lot of what we're going to be doing for the next couple of probably months is talking about different shaloi l'shmons. But this shaloi l'shmon is not the shaloi l'shmon of when you're looking at a sefer during davening and you're not focusing, you're not having the right kavanah. It means shaloi l'shmon that the person, specifically in the context of kodshim, it means someone's thinking about a different carbon than the one he's bringing. He thought he's bringing in, he separated a chatas. He did an aveira, he ate chelev, and he has to bring a chatas, and he was makdish a chatas, and he brings it to the kayin. He says, I want to bring a chatas, and the kayin then takes it around, and he shechs the animal, and as he's shechting it, he says, I want this to be an oila. He's the kayin messed up. So shaloi l'shmon is doing a carbon in the name of a different carbon. Rashi, throughout, there's a consistent shita that shaloi l'shmon means he says it. The kayin says out loud that he's doing it for this reason. So the Mishnah says, kol hazvachim shenizbuchu shaloi l'shmon ksherim, they're kosher, meaning that when the person brought his chatas and he gave it to the kayin shechted it as an oila, it remains a good carbon. It does. You don't have to stop the carbon in its tracks and take it out and burn it. Rather, you continue with the carbon. It's still a kosher carbon. This yid, the bailam, who had eaten chaylev and had to bring a chatas, he's going to have to bring another chatas. He doesn't get his kapara from this carbon. So that's the general rule. The exception to this is if someone's bringing a carbon pesach or a carbon chatas. On those, so I really didn't give a good example because I said a chatas. But if someone does it with a pesach or a chatas, it's not only is it not going to provide a kapara or bimaratza, the bailam, it's not going to be kosher altogether. You're going to have to start all over. It's possible gambri. So these karbanis are the carbon chatas or carbon pesach. So it's really the example I had given before of someone who ate chaylev. In that case, if the kayin shechs it and he has a mind oila, you're going to have to dump that carbon and start all over again. It's not going to even be a kosher carbon. And then the Mishnah says a rule though, ha-pesach bezmane. This that we say that the carbon pesach is not going to be oila l'baylam it's not just not going to be Oila Ba'al L'Shem Chayv, it's going to be Pasul. That's only if it's at the time to bring a carbon Pesach. Because this is really just a logical thing. The carbon Pesach, if someone says, say today, I'm bringing a carbon Pesach, in the middle of Elul, no such thing as a Pesach. In Elul, it would be converted to a Shlomim. And a Shlomim is not part of this thing that we said, Chutz Min HaPesach Min HaChatas. So that which we say that the carbon is altogether possible by a Pesach is only during the time that you bring the Pesach. If someone to bring his Pesach outside of that time, it gets converted to a Shlomim, and a Shlomim doesn't have that din. So then it would be the regular din that it's kosher, but like all l'baylim l'shem chayv.
More mikol when it's loy bismanai.
Well, it's not so much that it's more mekel. Shaloi bismanai.
You're allowed to go through.
Because it's no longer carbon Pesach. Now it's a Shlomim.
And for a shlomim shaloi l'shma.
Shlom shaloi l'shma is like a regular carbon. It has the default rule. Right. That it's kosher, but it doesn't provide a kapara. But chatas b'cholzman, chatas doesn't have this restriction, so anytime you make it, it's a chatas, so it's always going to be possible. Rabbi Eliezer Aimer, afa osher. Rabbi Eliezer adds, in addition to the Pesach and the chatas being an exception, the Ashram is also an exception. It's also going to have this rule that it's going to be possible altogether. HaPesach bizmanai, hachatas v'Ashram b'cholzman. And he just repeats. I'm not sure why he has to say over, because there's no reason why it should be any different. He says again, the Ashram that's being added onto the chatas is going to be at any time. Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Eliezer gives the reason why he's adding on Ashram together with chatas. Hachatas bo'al chait, ba'asham bo'al chait. A chatas, a person brings the chatas when he does something wrong. Almost always, there are exceptions like a mitzayra, I think, or I think when someone's a mitzayra, they bring a chatas when they become tar, which is not directly al chait. But asham bo'al chait. But asham is all, but generally it's a chait, and asham. We've had an asham, you can be asham for stealing. You can make an asham for mi'ila, for benefiting from hegdish. So since it's a asham is brought as a kapara for a chait, machatas psula shalei lishma, asham pasul shalei lishma. Just like the chatas, which we're going to learn in the Gemara from a pasuk, chatas becomes pasul entirely when you do shalei lishma. The asham is in the same category as chatas. It's also going to be pasul. Yossi ben Chayni Aimer, he adds on, so we keep on building on this rule of the Chatas and the Ash and the Pesach, that they're different. So he says, in addition to what we said, that if someone brings a Pesach on Erev Pesach, Shaloi L'Shma, it's Pasul, he says, Hanuschatan L'Shem Pesach L'Shem Chatas Psulin. It doesn't have to be just that you brought a Chatas, Shaloi Lishma, and have it in mind to be an oila, for example. If you bring an oila and you have in mind it should be a chatas, or if it's Erev Pesach and you have in mind that your oila should be a carbon Pesach, that's also going to be pasul instead of just being kosher and oila. So he says it goes both ways. It's a two-way street. It's not just if you bring a chatas or a Pesach Shaloi Lishma. But if you bring another carbon l'shem Pesach or Chatas, it's also going to be possible. Shimon Achi Azariah Omer. He has another knetch in this rule. He says, Shachtan l'shem gavaya mehen ksherin, l'shem namach mehen psulin. He says an additional way it could be possible, in addition to it being a Pesach or a Chatas or an Asham according to Rebbe Eliezer, or according to Chayni ben Yosef ben Chayni, if you have in mind L'Shem Chatas or Pesach, he says it's also if you have if someone, let's say he's bringing a shlamim and he has in mind to do it as L'Shem Oila, it's going to depend which one is more Kaddish. If you have in mind something that's more kaddish, then it remains kosher. But if you have in mind l'shem namach mehem psulin, but if he has in mind a lower level of kedusha, the carbon is a lower level of kedusha. For example, a shlomim is a lower level than an oila. Oila is kachem. Shlamim is kachim kalim. So the Gemara is going to give the Mishnah gives an example. Ketzah. Kachik kachim.
When you say kosher, how kosher are we talking about? Like it's
So
a
that
full
is that is going to be a machlokes in the Gemara. But we're saying that means he asked, what does it mean if it's kosher? So far, we just addressed the fact that it's going to be puzzle. If it's, we're going to say not just l'shem chatas and l'shem petzach is puzzle, but if you do something l'shem namuch man, if you have your oila l'shem shlamim, it's going to be puzzle legamri. It's not just going to be like Allah b'alam shem chayva. It's going to be puzzle. Now the Gemara will later have a discussion about whether it also goes the other way. Does he also argue that when he says that it's kosher, if you have in mind something that's more kaddish, does that mean it's kosher and gansen and that it's even Allah b'alam l'shem chayva? But the basic rule that the Mishnah is saying is that l'shem namuch mehen is going to be puzzle. Is going to be possible. The question is, go both ways. You go to both extremes. When it's l'shem, certainly when it's l'shem namuch, it's going to be possible agami. The question is, like you said, if he does l'shem gavaya, if he has in mind a more kaddish, does that mean that it's going to be kosher and gans? Well, what's the example? Ketzat kachim sheshachton l'shem kachim kalim. If he brought kachim and he had in mind l'shem kachim kalim, psulin, then it's entirely possible. Kachim kalim sheshachton l'shem kachim ksherim. Then if he does it the other way around, possibly it's kosher, meaning maybe it's not possible. Possibly it means in kosher and legant. So what's the even more specific examples? Habachar v'hamaiser sheshachtu l'shem shlamim. A shlamim is more kaddish than the bachar and meiser, even though they're both kachim kalim, but the bachar a shlamim has a lot of different aspects to it. It has tenufa, it has smicha, which mice with which bachar and meiser. Bachar is that when someone has three different types of animals that are the firstborn of the animal, he has to give it to the kain, and the kain brings it as a carbon. A meiser is meiser behemo, the 10th animal he has to separate from his flock that's born. He has to separate and bring it as a carbon. So if he does it with Shem Shlamim, it's kosher because Shlamim is more kaddish than those karbanos. Shlam shachton Shem Bechar l'Shem Meiser psulin. Okay. Just example.
We just found the where we did
Kachim
kosher, and now we did kosher passing.
It's interesting. I did not observe that. Yeah, it's true. Sagt Gemara, Lamali l'misni. Listening to why does the Mishnah say extra words right at the beginning? We say all the karbanis that were brought shaloi l'shmam, they're kosher, but they're not shem chayva. Just you have to make it so dramatic. Say it's kosher and it's not olive. What is it? Ella. Hakamashman l'bayim hu d'lo l'shem chayva. That it. Why do we say villa? Why does it say Ella, but it's not Allah l'bayim shem chayv? Right at the beginning of the mission, right? We say the karbanis that are brought shaloi l'shman, they're kosher, but they're not. They don't provide a karban. Just say it as a fact. Usually we're very dry in the Mishnah, so we just say it was just the facts, man. Hakamash malon the bayim hu d'lo Allah l'shem chayva avo b'kedushasayu kaimi. We're saying. The only thing that changes is that it's loy alu b'ayim shchayva. He doesn't get a kapara. But in every other sense, it's kosher, meaning that v'aser l'shnuyabuhu. That you're not allowed to say, okay, I did the shchita shaloy l'shma. So now it's first of all the b'ayim are not getting a kapara, and also I already messed up the l'shma, so I'm not going to. I'm not going to care anymore about what I have in mind. So I could do everything shaloi l'shma. I could do the next part also. I could do the halacha and the kabbalah and the zrika shaloi l'shma. So kamash malon is no, that you still have to treat it. You have to do the rest of it. So it's not like if someone is fat, he wakes up in the morning on Asar B'Tevis and he drinks his coffee. He says, okay, once I have my coffee, I can have a pizza for lunch. You have to resume your fast. So the same thing. You can't say I lost the lishma and it doesn't make a difference what I do. As it says, Ella It's all. This is the only nafkamina. That's so. The Gemara says, what?
Other halachas that we're referring to?
What do you mean other halachas? That means he can't change the. He can't do the rest of the avodas shaloi lishma. He can't change them from what it's supposed to do. So let's see the Rashi, the first wide line. He can't say, okay, now I'm going to just announce by the next thing also. It's really supposed to be a shlamim, and I'm going to say it's an oila. I did in the first one. I don't want to embarrass myself.
First one meaning the first.
Meaning on the first by the shchita. I did the first avodah, the first part of the avodah. I did the shchita l'shem oila, so I don't want to embarrass myself in front of the other kahanim. I'll do the kabbalah. I'll also announce it's an oila, and I'll do the halacha. I'll announce it's an oila, and I'll do the zrika. I'll announce it an oila because it doesn't make a difference. I already messed up the lishma. Kamashmuan, no.
Much longer you have a chiyuv to do it.
You have to do it the correct way. It's not going to change anything.
Right, and if you didn't, you had another avera.
So that's what Rashi says. Miu im ava b'shina kosher. If he was over and he did it, it's still kosher. It's not going to change. So what's the mind of community? He's not allowed to do it.
Huh?
Rashi said that.
We don't.
You're going to find also there's a lot of things in karbanis that are lechatchila, but they're not ma'akav.
Interesting.
Very often.
No else in like Torah.
You know,
it's that concept. Like you really should do it this way. If you don't do it this way, it's okay.
Listen, there's going to be much worse than this. There's three parts of an animal that you generally have to deal with. There's three things that happen to the animal. There's the parts that there's rika, like you throw the dam on you do the avodas hadam. There's the meat, for example, let's say on shlomim that the bailam are allowed to eat, and then there's the emurim that get burnt on the mizbeach. But the emurim on the mizbeach, if you don't do it, it's not ma'akav. It's not going to pass. The emurim is the certain parts of the animal that get burnt.
Insides, right?
Certain insides, yeah. The chelav,
Right.
but that's not ma'akav. That whole chelik is not ma'akav. Yeah, you have to do it, but if you don't do it, the carbon is still there. So, Zak Gemara. Ukedarava, Damarava, Oila Shashachta Shalei Lishma. Also, Lizuk Dama Shalei Lishma. An Oila that was Geshachten Shalei Lishma, you can't go ahead and do the next part of the Avodah Shalei Lishma. Iba Yisei Mesvara, Iba Yisei Makra, Iba Yisei Mesvara Mishum Deshani Ba, Kalhani Lishma Belezel. First svara is the obvious svara. Just because you made one mistake doesn't mean you should make another. The Torah says, okay, I think we're going to stop over here and continue tomorrow.